Pete, what do you got as far as sports for us today? Let's talk.
Well, I wanted to tie this in, John. We were just talking about Dak Prescott yesterday, right? We were talking about how does this guy continue to go without a contract? I mean, he's got a contract, but everybody else is 50 plus, right? Or 45 million up to 56 million or something like that. And you can name multiple quarterbacks. And we did it yesterday, about 10 or 11 guys out there making incredible sums of money. And maybe it's Dak's turn, and it probably is. But here's a slight problem that was noticed. Chris Canty, I used to work with him, John, on NBC Sports. Great guy, former defensive lineman, big, huge man, very intelligent. He was talking about Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott was seen walking around in a walking boot, John. Now, that's a problem. This wasn't just like a little bit of tape on an ankle. This wasn't some guy who's, doing this. He's got a walking boot on. Now, camp is not that far away, and it kind of makes you wonder, what is the process now? What are they waiting for? We were wondering, and maybe there's something to that wait. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. We maybe are making something out of nothing, but when I saw Chris Canty talking about it, we were talking yesterday, when you look at Dak's numbers, they're extraordinary. The only problem has been in the postseason where they've struggled, just like Tony Romo did. But he's like 2-5 in the postseason. His numbers are definitely not as good as they are during the regular season. So, when it's the biggest stage, it's not been something that Dak has really been able to answer to. But I'm just curious, what do you think? Because should he play or should he not play? And is he going to get $60 million? Because that's what everybody's projecting. I mean, John, they always set the numbers up, right? And this numbers right now are most of these quarterbacks are somewhere between 45 and 55. And the most recent guys have gotten that closer to $55 million level. Does this guy get $60 million? He might, and he most likely will. I just wonder, do you get a little shaky? I mean, we all talked about Aaron Rodgers. We talked about Kirk Cousins. Dak's got a walking boot on, and it's what, July 10th?
Well, what do you think? Pete, I know that his contract this year is $29 million. That's what he's going to get for this year. Now, he also gets $5 million more because he restructured the contract so that the cap hit to the Cowboys wasn't as intense as it would have been otherwise. Mm-hmm. So in total, $34 million. To Pete's point, there isn't an elite quarterback that is playing for less than 40 right now, except for Purdy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who's making 800 or 900.
He's going to break the bank.
He's going to break the bank. That might be a $70 million contract. If he's healthy throughout the year and he leads them to the playoffs and into another Super Bowl, Pete, Purdy will get paid. Yeah. But to your point about Dak, it is interesting that he has this issue with this boot right now. It could be anything from he turned his ankle getting out of a truck or whatever. All these players love these big jacked up trucks. That's what Pete wants. That's what Pete was driving around in. So when you get up that truck, you don't hurt your ankle. When you get out of it, sometimes you do. You can roll that thing over. But I think overall, Pete, he will get paid. I do think he'll play because the Cowboys really need him. I don't know what they've got behind him right now that they could count on to get him, to another 12-5 or better season without Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting. Just the fact that he's walking around in a walking boot and it's in the wide open and people see it. And you do have to question it to some degree. All right, John, next up. College football is not that far away. We're just talking about the NFL. The NFL kicks off training camps very soon, this weekend, as a matter of fact. But college football is right around the corner. So I just wanted to get people kind of prepped up. The SEC has changed a little bit. You're adding Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. This is the year. So that's going to be something pretty special. You've got Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA all coming into the Big Ten. That should be pretty special. But a lot of people are pretty impressed, John, with what they think is one of the better of the conferences. And a lot of people, this is not me, I'm just reading all these people saying, hey, you know what? The Big 12 has really upgraded, and they are not that far away. And so who's in the Big 12 now that wasn't? Utah, Arizona, Arizona State, and Colorado are all coming over. Now, Colorado, everybody was excited because of Dion, but let's not get too excited. They did not exactly burn it up. I mean, they started off pretty good and then it fizzled, right? They do have the best as far as the NIL money. Their quarterback is the numero uno of all. That happens to be Shedeur Sanders. It's shocking that he's getting paid what he's getting paid. But anyway, so you've got the Big 12. What do you think, John? Is the Big 12? I don't think that I agree that the Big 12, from a standpoint of the whole league, is stronger than the SEC. I don't think they're stronger than the Big 10. But a lot of people are saying, you know what? They think that they've really repositioned themselves into something great. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it. It doesn't sound like you do either. But how about the SEC? Now, when you add Oklahoma and Texas to Alabama and Auburn and all, I mean, Georgia, that's a big upgrade, I would say.
Yeah. I think the SEC upgraded more than any of the other conferences, Pete, because, Big Ten, you get UCLA, Pete, you get USC. Did they get Oregon too, Pete? I forgot.
Oregon and Washington, yeah.
Okay, Oregon, Washington. They upgraded seriously, the Big Ten. And the SEC, I don't know if they really did upgrade that much. Texas right now looks great. And they've got, a fight at quarterback between Ewers and Manning. And Manning looked pretty good in spring ball, but let's not forget, Ewers took them all the way into the playoffs last year. And that was a damn good Texas football team with a lot of guys coming back. So, that's pretty interesting. I guess I'd go, Pete, Big Ten, SEC, and then Big 12 in terms of 1, 2, and 3. In terms of who upgraded the most. And I don't think anybody in any of those other conferences wants to play anybody from any of these 3 conferences. Not really, because they are hyper competitive. You mentioned about NIL money. That's something that obviously the magic that Dion brings to that team, Colorado. But man, they've got their work cut out for them, Pete, in that conference. But, he could surprise. We'll see. I think Shedeur, by the way, I hope he put on 20 pounds in the offseason, Pete, because that kid needed a little more muscle, needs to be a little more physical, in my opinion. I'm not a quarterback whisperer, but I think he needs both the Sanders bros on that team needed to be a little bigger. Hunter, I think he can play at that size. I think the other 2 need to be a little bit bigger if they're going to survive NFL type football.
Well, and Shedeur's got to stop driving around in that Rolls Royce and get that on. I got booted the other day, John. He got booted. They dragged the thing away, and Dion said, "Good, get that thing out of here." So at least he's got his head on his shoulders a little bit on that whole thing. Last thing, real quick, I'll ask you this. Naming rights for the Big 12, are they really going to do it? Because they've talked about it, John, trying to get somebody out there to to pay for the naming rights of the Big 12. It wouldn't be the Big 12 then.
Right. Yeah. What if it was the All-State Big 12, Pete?
Right.
Or what if it was the Google, Big 12 or whatever? I think they'll keep the name, the suffix. It'll be a suffix instead of a prefix. So in case you went to public schools, folks, that means the name will be after rather than before. So I think it will likely be, Pete, something like Google or Microsoft or, a name like that in front of the Big 12. So that's the way I would think it would go. But again, they could drop Big 12 altogether. I would just be surprised because it wouldn't sound like a league. What are you just going to call it? The Microsoft 12?
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that. The whatever, the NVIDIA 12? I don't think so. But you could see somebody that wanted, a little bit of that magic to rub off, putting their name first and then Big 12 second.
Yep, for sure.